Good afternoon. Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's session, part 2 of growing your online business by optimizing digital channels. It's great to see you all today. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're all well. Hope you're all being graced by this beautiful weather that we're certainly having in my wee town here. My name is Gemma, and I am from Expo North Digital team. Expo North Digital is Highlands and Islands Enterprise mechanism for specialist digital support from the creative economy across the Highlands and Islands. This workshop is delivered through the Northern Innovation Hub, which is designed to build on and accelerate, funded through the Inverness and Highlands City Region deal, a joint innovative supported by £315 million of investment from the UK and Scottish governments, Highland Council, Highlands and Islands Enterprise and UHI. Before I pass over to Joan, who is our fabulous fashion, craft and textile specialist from Expo North Digital, I'm just going to go over a couple of housekeeping notes. Today's session will last roughly an hour. Today's session is also recorded, so please can you keep your microphones on mute. Alison's going to have some presentations and then we'll have an opportunity for questions and open discussion. So keep your microphones on mute until the opportunity arises. And without further ado, I will hand you over to Joan.
Thank you, Gemma, and hello everybody. It's great to see a few more faces this week. Last week Alison covered the foundations for building your presence online, and it was great to sort of review sort of areas around brand messages, who your customer is and what your promise is, and then thinking about the audience as well. So lots of coverage there. For anyone who missed last week, it was recorded and will be available to view online as well. So I'm not going to say too much more about what Alison will cover today because she's got lots of interesting slides and lots of information to share. But just one thing I would like to add is in use. So Expo North do have a specialist advice service, but they're now doing things slightly differently. So there's certain dates, it's all online, starting Tuesday the 20th, when you can actually log on or request to speak to somebody directly, and that's a face-to-face through Zoom. With a specialist in the area. So that could be media, filmmaking, crafts, fashion, textiles. So do have a look at that, and we'll make sure that that's promoted and sent out. So that's a free service. It's basically a support on anything digital that we can help you with in the region. So just to highlight that, and now I shall hand over to Alison. We will take questions both through the chat box, but also if there is anything you want to raise at the time, if you just put in the chat box and then we can ask Alison to help with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you very much, Joan, and thank you to Expo North for hosting this workshop. It's lovely to be back again. I'm seeing a few names that I recognise from last week, so thank you for coming back. And welcome to those of you that weren't with us last week. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Alison Read. I'm a digital marketing consultant. I'm based in Lossiemouth, and I help small businesses take control of their online presence and in order to grow their business. So I give them the tools and the confidence and the strategies that they need so that they can do it themselves. I'm not going to do your social media for you because I think that you are the best people that are within the business. You're the best people to be doing your social media. You just need sometimes a little bit of help, and so that's how I work with my clients. So without further ado, I'm just going to share my screen and cross my fingers. How's that looking? Are we seeing, Joan, is that good? Are you seeing my screen? Building your online presence?
Yes, all perfect. Yep.
Lovely. Right. Okay, let's kick off then. So, as Joan said, last week we talked about finding your foundation, and that was really all about understanding your strategy, because once you understand, get your foundation sorted, then you're going to connect more authentically, which means that your marketing becomes more effective and that you can spend more time doing what you love and serving those that need to hear from you. We talked about your why you're doing this. Including things like your brand. So your brand isn't just your visual logo. Your brand is very much your reputation. It's what your promises are. It's what people say about you. So understanding the principles of brand are really important if you're going to be successful in your marketing. We also talked about audience, understanding who you're talking to and what they need from you and how you can help them. There is temptation that people say, well, anybody can benefit from what I do. And I'm sure they can, but if you spend a little bit of time understanding who your ideal client is, who that person is who's going to love working with you and tell your friends and not quibble about your prices, if you can nail who that person is, again, that's going to help you connect more authentically with the people that need to hear from you. We looked at your market and your offer. So what is it that you do that helps people? What's in it for them? So that was all about understanding your why. And then we moved on to looking at how. So how are you going to do that? We looked at the 7 different digital channels that there are. They were all centered around your website. So the number one takeaway from last week was to sort out your website, make it very clear, make it easy for people to get the information they need in order to do business with you, whether that's to buy a product or to engage your services or to collaborate. But getting your website sorted means that all of the other channels, your organic SEO for being found by Google, if you're using paid ads or display ads, they'll be going back to your website. We also looked at starting a mailing list. Some people are quite resistant to the idea of sending emails, but there is a real value to that. And I would urge you, if you've not looked at last week's, to go back and just recap that, because starting a mailing list is a really great way to keep in touch with people who want to hear from you. Oops, I'll just go the other way. We also looked at how to decide what your key social channels are going to be. There are many dozens of different social channels. So which ones are going to be right? And again, that's looking back at your audience. Where are your audience going to be online? Where do they like to hang out? But also, where do you like to hang out? So if your audience is, if you love TikTok, but your audience is sort of slightly more mature, then you probably need to compromise and move to where your audience are. But, if your audience is hanging out on Instagram and you like Instagram, then that's a match made in heaven. The other key takeaway from last week as well was whether you intend to use all these dozens of platforms or not, it really is worth going on to every one of them and reserving your username, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. If at all possible, get the same username on every platform. And I wish I'd taken that advice a long time ago. But if you can get the same username on every platform, then that's gonna, it's just gonna help with that consistency, so that people who are used to seeing you on Instagram will be able to find you on Facebook or on LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever else whatever other platforms that you're using. Tied up with that, if you decide that you want to be most active on Instagram, for example, but you realize you need a presence on Facebook, then by all means go onto Facebook, make sure your bio is correct, make sure all of your information is on there, and just put up a post saying, that your primary social media account is Instagram and you'd love to welcome people to Instagram, that you'll post occasionally on Facebook, but in order to get the best experience, go to Instagram, and here's my website. So it's very clear that you haven't actually gone out of business, that you are still active, but that you're redirecting people to where where you tend to hang out. So that's your why and that's your how. So what? This week is about what we do on those channels in order to connect with our target audience and grow our business. So I'm going to start by giving you an overview of the principles of content marketing, which is all about planning and preparing and repurposing your content. We're going to look about strategies to succeed, specifically in social media, but actually, before we dive into those, probably the 3 platforms that are the most interesting to the people that are on this call, there are some basic strategies for whatever marketing channel, marketing platform that you're on. So I'm going to cover like the broad principles for any kind of social media marketing, and probably beyond social media for your website, you can still, or your email newsletter, you can still apply the same kind of thing. And then we're going to dive into Facebook, Instagram and Pinterest and see about how we work on those. And finally, I was asked about working with influencers. So I've just got a couple of slides about finding the right influencers and getting the most from that relationship. So let's crack on with content marketing. So content marketing is a huge area, and it would fill many, many hours of our time. But our time is precious, and each of us only have limited hours in the day. We've only got so many resources. We don't have the time to be running 7 different social media accounts and still be actively working in our business. So what we're going to talk about is how content marketing, if you do it right, if it can become, it's not only going to help us reach our target audience more effectively, but it is going to be able to help us use our time online more effectively and more efficiently, so that we are working smarter and not harder. Whichever channel or platform you're using, the principles are kind of the same and the process is the same. So quick look at the process. First thing you want to do is sit down and plan what it is that you're going to put out. We're then looking at, you're preparing your content. And if you do it right, you know, you can sit down at the beginning of the month, or certainly the beginning of the week, plan out some posts for the forthcoming period, and, you know, spend a concentrated amount of time doing this particular job, which is your social media, and populate posts in advance. You can schedule stuff. And then you come to the posting your content. Once you've posted, it's important to engage with, you know, check your notifications, see how it's going down, and to look at your insights, look at your analytics, and understand what's working, what's not working, and then just rinse and repeat, and, you know, repeat the good stuff and learn from what you're doing. So let's start with looking at planning your content. So there are many, many different ways of planning your content. But like I say, the way that I tend to work with clients is that we will sit down, we might get if we're going to get a framework together, and we'll probably look at a framework for the next 3, possibly 6 months, depending on the type of industry that they're in. And the absolute simplest way to do it is just to get a big piece of paper or a spreadsheet, but a calendar, essentially, a big blank calendar, and look at what's coming out and then plan it out on that, and just get a big marker or a whiteboard and just physically start to fill these things in. So what do we need to think about? The first thing you need to think about is frequency. How often are you going to post? So this is actually a fairly live one from one of my clients. I just dived in and pulled out one of their social media calendars. So they are financial planners, and they already have plenty of business. They've got a strong presence in the market. They're not looking to grow their following in any way. The way that their clients work is they tend to get referrals, or they Google financial planners near me, and then these guys pop up. And then what tends to happen is those clients will check on social media, or they might do a little bit of digging to see, you know, if they're still active, what if they're getting reviews, that kind of thing. So they really just need to maintain a consistent presence. So we're not going for daily posting or anything like that. What we're doing here is 2 or 3 posts a week. But if you actively wanted to grow your audience, then you probably need to be thinking about posting a little bit more frequently. Again, you need to be kind of realistic about what you can achieve given the time that you have available. Daily is more than adequate for most people, unless you choose to go on Twitter, in which case you probably need to do it about 6 times a day to really make much of an impact on that. But, you know, again, think about when your potential customers are online. So if you're working business to business, you probably want to be posting Monday to Friday. But if you're doing business to consumer, depending on your products and your services, then possibly like a Saturday morning or a Sunday evening might be a good time to put out a post. Once you've decided on your frequency, then you can start to think about your themes. So how are you going to structure that content? So when I started working with these guys, they decided that they would do daily themes. So we had Mortgage Mondays, alliteration is always good. So we had Mortgage Mondays, we had Wealth Wednesdays, and we had Friday Fun. And fun, at least as far as financial planners are concerned, fun is really about, it's a connection post. It's about getting to know the people behind. People buy from people. I've said that many times. So a fun post in this context is really somebody's just passed an exam, or somebody brought their baby into work, or we're sponsoring a local community event, or here's a new shot of the new office, or something like that. So it's a connection type post. And you can do this on a daily thing. Again, a similar example, working with a personal trainer. She had Monday motivation, she had Tuesday tips, Wednesday workout, and then she had a Friday fun as well. So think about what's going to work in your areas. What this has evolved to with this particular client is that we're working on 5 different content pillars. So our content pillars in this case are pensions, mortgages, savings and investments, protection and funds. So we have 5 content pillars, and what we do across the course of the month is we mix it up so that we're not always talking about pensions, we're not always talking about mortgages, we're mixing those up, and with the colors it's very nice and easily visual. And in this case, these guys really only use Instagram and Facebook, and they post the same thing on each one. So it's a very simple example to give. The next thing you want to do is look at what is coming up. So one easy way for anybody with a social media plan to work out is to look at awareness days. So awareness these days are things like National Bring Your Pet to Work Day, or National Coffee Day. Here's us having our coffee in the office, or those kind of things. So don't do every single one of them. Make sure it is relevant to your market. But 1 or 2 a month is quite a nice way to hang a piece of social media onto those awareness days, and just to hook into. Sometimes it's trending as well on social media. So if we look at like International Women's Day, for example, that's a great example of 8th of March. Everybody's posted about International Women's Day. That's a good one for you to jump onto some sort of trending hashtags and things. Excuse me. So we're looking at our awareness days. Obviously within your own business as well, you're looking at things like if you've got a launch coming up, if you've got a workshop that you're hosting, if you are closed for a bank holiday or something like that. Put all of those things into the calendar, and then start to work around those, and start to think about the sort of things that you can put into your content calendar so that you are planning ahead. Again, think about different audiences. So if you are running multiple social media channels, then the kind of content that you might put on LinkedIn, for example, might be very different to the sort of content that you would put on Pinterest. So you may need to divide this up slightly differently, and think about the audiences that you have on each of those channels. Sorry, different platforms, yeah. And also you don't have to cram it, because you should leave a little bit of space for spontaneous posting. So if you are at a trade show, or you are out for a walk, or you are at a customer site or something like that, and you're inspired to put something up, which you can put it on stories, but you could also put up a post, a spontaneous post. And again, that just gets that little bit of connection going. What I would say though, of course, is be smart, repurpose your content as much as possible. So if you've written a great blog post, you can cut that up into visuals, you can do quotes, you can do Facebook posts, you can even make like a little video of like slideshow or carousel. A big piece of content like that can be chopped and changed and repurposed in many different ways. And of course, be realistic, because we really have only so many hours in the day. And you need to find a way that you can work efficiently and effectively. And I think the whole planning your content in advance, if you can just put aside a half a day to get that framework together and start to populate it, it really will make a big difference to how efficient you can be. So creating your content, and the most important thing you can do to succeed in line is to create valuable content. And that's for 2 reasons, really. Valuable content to your ideal audience, to your target audience, because if you are giving them good stuff, they're going to come back again. The second thing is, if your channel, if your platform, Facebook or Instagram, whatever, see that you're getting this engagement, see that people value your content, the algorithm is going to pick up on that, and that in turn will show it to more people. So it's a kind of a, it's an ever, not an ever decreasing, ever increasing circle. So if you're putting out good stuff that people like, ultimately the providers want to have their users entertained. They want to keep them seeing good stuff. So if they like what you're doing, they're going to show that to other people as well. So it's a virtuous circle. That's the word I was thinking of. So how do you do this? What is this holy grail of creating valuable content? Well, the first thing you need to do is to shift your mindset away from just selling stuff. So traditional marketing is all about selling. It's a one-way communication, and you just stand there squawking, telling people about how great you are. But if you're standing there squawking, people are just going to cover their ears and slide on right by. But if you can position yourself as serving your market, so providing a service that people appreciate and value because it somehow improves their life or meets a need or makes them happier, if you can shift your mindset to serving someone, then that's going to make people more likely to respond, because it's going to increase that connection. Once you've got people on your side, once you've got them to know, like, and trust you, then you've got their permission to sell. Okay, and then that's how they start to turn into raving fans. So let's look at the basics of great content. As we talked about last week, knowing your audience is absolutely critical. Who are they? What do they want? And how can you help them? Whenever you put a post out, you need to think to yourself, what am I doing with this post? Who am I talking to? What do I want to achieve with this post? So do post with intent. There's nothing worse than getting to a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock and then dashing something off because you haven't got around to it that week. If you have your framework in place, it makes it easier for you to plan in advance and post with intent and understanding your audience. I've mentioned this before, people buy from people. So it is important, particularly as small businesses, which I think everybody on this call is, people do buy from people and they want to know your stories. They want to get to know you. So don't be afraid to put yourself in front of the camera. It can be daunting when you first start doing it, and I'm sure Joan can attest to that, but you do eventually get used to it. Once people know that you're out there and they start to like you and they start to trust you, then you're in a much stronger position to start selling to them. Make it as easy as possible. So when you're posting something, make it clear and simple, solve a problem, and tell them what you want to do about it as well. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in the next section. But overall, just need to be consistent and keep going. Okay. So as I mentioned before, there are strategies that, actually, are there any questions at that point, Jo? Am I okay to carry on?
Yep, there's nothing in the chat box. Does anyone want to ask anything?
Yes, I'd like to ask something, sorry.
Oh, yeah, Jo.
Just what is the difference on Facebook? What's the difference between stories and posts, and why would you use one and not the other? Because I've never used a story before.
Ah, right. I have a whole slide on that, not in this presentation, but if you like, I will come back to it at the end and I can talk you through that. Let me just make a note of that, because that's a really good question.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so on every social platform that you're looking at, setting up is going to be the same. Whether you are on Twitter or Pinterest, whatever, you need to optimize your username and your bio. And this is so critical, and it's something that so many people overlook, that although it's a basic, I really wanted to restate it. In your bio, you need to make sure you have your business name, make sure you've got your website and your services that you offer. Tell people what you do, who you do it for, and where. If the location is important, then put that in, because those are all keywords. So if somebody is going online and they're looking for social media in Murray, and copywriting, whatever, those words are in my bio on every one of my platforms, so that helps me be found, and it helps me be found by Google as well. The second point is pretty much every platform now offers the option for a business account. And in pretty much every case, I would suggest that you take that option. There's a number of advantages of running a business profile, including things like the ability to run ads, to have enhanced insights so you can really understand what's going on your platform. And in some cases, you could put up additional information. So on Instagram, for example, you can also add a lot more contact details than you can with your personal account. Certainly on Facebook, it is against their terms and conditions to use a personal profile to run a business. So if you think, oh, well, that's easy, I can just make lots of friends and I'll just use my personal profile and run my business through that, if you get found out, you could have the rug pulled from underneath you. So it is worth using a business account for all the right reasons. There is one small exception to that, and that is Instagram offers a third type of profile, which is a creator profile. So if you are a blogger, or if you're not necessarily selling products, but you want to have a presence, you're a business, if you use creator, then it has less access to things like shops and ads, but it does give you a much better option for reels, for audio and things, because you're not bothered about copyright. Again, it's a little bit of a grey area, but if there's anybody on this call who wasn't clear and would like hand with that, just pop it in the chat. And the final thing on whatever platform you're in is keep it on brand, keep it a consistent look and feel across all your different platforms. Similarly, the way that you structure a post is essentially the same on everyone. So I'm just going to talk you through a couple of the key bullet points for when you are creating a post, what you need to think about. Whichever platform you're on, you need a compelling headline. So think about a newspaper. The thing that captures your eye is the headline. And I've put up an example here from DYW, a Facebook post they put up. Thinking about a career into teaching. No, I'm not, so I'm just going to scroll by. Or yes, I am. Oh, I might stop and have a look. Add that compelling headline. So something like Instagram or Pinterest, that's all they're going to see unless they click. So it does need to be a hook. Whether it's in Pinterest, you're looking at your title, Instagram, it's your caption. Then after that, then you need a short, snappy executive summary that sums up what's going to happen in the rest of the post. So if, for example, you were writing a post about, one of my clients is Visit Lossiemouth. So if they were talking about the, let me think, about the museum, for example, the caption might be, ever wondered why, I don't know, ever wondered what it's like to be in a storm? And then the summary might say, Lossiemouth Museum has a big exhibition about storms around Lossiemouth. And then you get into the body of the text. So it's just like a newspaper, really. You want to be engaging, asking questions and starting conversations, because that's going to bring the comments in. So if you can sort of tell that story, but still ask the questions, what do you think? Comment below. Has this ever happened to you, or have you ever found? Those kind of things are going to really just generate that conversation. And do break it up visually as well. Don't be afraid to use emojis. People scan, again, it would depend on your brand, but for most people it's fine, just use emojis. People won't read every word, they will scan. So the way you want to do this is to break it up visually, so it's as easy as possible for people to read. And in most cases, at the sign off, you want to add a call to action. So a call to action might say, click here, call us, sign up, comment below, those kind of things. Tell people what it is that you want them to do. And again, you're making it as easy as possible for people to take action. And depending on the platform, you might want to give them the option to find out more. So in Instagram, you can't do that. You can only refer them to a link in your bio, because in Instagram, you don't get live links, but on Facebook, you can put in a link that would take them to your website, for example. So that's the writing of the post, but posts these days are no longer just pure text. We've always got visuals. So your visuals do need to be good. They need to be good quality. They need to be clear, sharp, interesting. If you're using, you may see a lot of people using more like graphic type things. So if you're not familiar with it, there's a program called Canva, and I actually have a course on that coming up. So if you would be interested in that, then please do drop me a line. Canva is a free graphic design application that you can use on your phone or on your laptop, and it's fab. It's really, really good, and it will make that whole look and feel of your brand and your consistency come so much easier. It's very easy to learn, and it's one of my favorite tools. I use it most days. Use people in your posts as well, particularly if you're doing product shots. It's tempting just to put up a picture of a product and a picture of another product. But even if it's just a picture, you know, somebody's hand holding it, but if you can show that product actually being used by somebody, it makes it much easier for the viewer to imagine them having that product in that hand, or, you know, them actually taking part in whatever workshop or skill that you're showcasing. Again, I have a whole a course about taking better pictures for social media with your phone, because although this image has got a professional setup, I think, you know, 90% of what you'll be putting on your social media, 95% probably, is going to be taken from your phone. And, you know, all power to it. I think, you know, the phones that people are using are such valuable tools for social media. So we definitely can be, you know, there's no problem in using phones for taking photos these days. Video, of course, is really big. So every platform loves video. And I don't know if it's an age thing or a demographic thing, but personally, I'm a reader, or I like a good visual, but I'm not so keen on sitting and watching videos. But that's how the majority of people take in their information these days, is through videos. So there's different ways of doing that. You could even just a slideshow. If you've got some tiles to share with people, put them into a slideshow so that it rotates. You can do reels on Instagram, Facebook, even Pinterest you can go live on as well these days. So going live is a good way of connecting to your audience as well. So video is a really powerful means. And of course, don't forget to put in any external links that you've got, or refer people to your bio to take people back to your website, because what they're seeing of you on your social media is just a snapshot in time. If you get them to go to your website, they then get the whole experience. They see all the other services that you offer, they see how you can help them, they see more of your brand. So where possible, do encourage people to find out more. And again, depending on the platform, sharing other relevant content does kind of reinforce that authority that you have. So Joan, for example, creates these incredible cashmere duvets. She's not just pushing the product, she's talking about the experience of getting better sleep. So she might share content from the Sleep Council of Great Britain or something like that, and put her own spin on it and sort of say, well, our clients have found that this happens or that happens. And so again, you're sharing other relevant content to increase your authority in that field. So you've posted, and then you need to be thinking about following up with your notifications. Make sure you respond to any messages and comments, and engaging with other accounts. And again, I'll come on to that when I talk about the specific different platforms, but engaging with other accounts is really key to growing your audience. Every platform's got analytics or insights. Do keep an eye on them. Check what's working, check what's not, and then, you know, do more of the good stuff and just drop the stuff that's not really hitting its target. And then this, I think, is absolutely the most critical thing to get your head around on every platform that you're on, and this is the sales process. What would we want to do to people? We want to get in front of people. So people that have never heard of us, we need to make sure they know about us. We then need to convince them to come inside, or to visit, or to click on something, to buy something, and then we need to keep them happy. And in a sort of marketing speak, what we're talking about is our reach, our conversion, and our engagement. Every platform that you're on, you need to be thinking about reaching more people, converting those people to become buyers and then ideally raving fans, and then keeping them happy by continuing that engagement. So at that point, if there's no questions, just a quick drink. Let's dive into each of the different platforms. So again, I picked the main three. If anybody's got questions on any of the others, I'd be happy to talk about those as well. But the one that sort of the granddaddy of social media is Facebook, and universally loathed, but it is still the #1 social media platform. So the tagline, I've added the taglines for each of these so that people understand the kind of the intention of each of the platforms. Give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. So this whole idea of community is important to Facebook. And that's why it's the only, well, it's not why, but it is the only platform with useful groups. So whether you like Facebook or not, whether you're mostly present on another platform, these groups are actually really key to growing your presence online. Excuse me. So if you're showing up, for example, in, suppose you have a holiday cottage and you join Scotland by the Roadside group, which is all about travel photography, people posting pictures. You don't need to go on there and say, hey, stay at my holiday cottage. But if your holiday cottage is called, you know, Lossiemouth Villa or something, and you say, oh, here's a beautiful picture this morning of the dolphins out of my window, that is going to help, you know, that using those groups, you connect with people. There's a kind of an innate trust within a group, even one with like 50,000 members. So groups are a really useful tool for anybody who is looking to grow their presence. And again, don't be too spammy about it. Be helpful, but be present. And people will help. That'll help your know, like, and trust with people. Obviously, the other thing about Facebook is it also owns Instagram and WhatsApp. So there is that very close integration between the platforms. And if you are posting on Instagram, you can also choose to post to Facebook, not vice versa. But what you can do is you can use Business Suite, which is Facebook's management tool, to schedule your Instagram and Facebook posts. So we did talk earlier on about scheduling and things. While there are professional platforms such as Hootsuite and Planoly and things like that, and later that you can use to schedule your social media, Business Suite, if all you're using is Instagram and Facebook, that's, most of my clients are just using Business Suite. It's a really great tool to, it's not really great, it's okay, it does the job. It's a useful tool to schedule your posts for both platforms, and it is improving over time. So again, if anybody wants to ask any questions about Business Suite at the end, I'll be happy to answer those. It's also got extensive development and integration with MailChimp, your email server, and other things. Plus, of course, paid ads, which are affordable and highly targeted. So, you know, if you were to put an advert in a newspaper, it might cost you £300 to hit 20,000 randoms in your local area. If you spent £300 on Facebook, you could target the exact people you need all over the world who will going to love what you're doing. And in fact, if all you need to do is hit 200 people locally, you could do it for, you know, a couple of quid. It's really affordable. And that's for both platforms, Facebook and Instagram. So if we go back to this sales process, how are we going to reach new people on Facebook? Good content. Again, get the likes, get the comments, get the shares. The better your content, the more likes and comments and shares you'll get. And again, the more it will be shown to other people. Ask people, you know, say, share my page, would you share this, your post, tag somebody who needs to know about this. This engagement thing, let's talk a little bit more about that. So I would suggest to say to every one of my clients, if you are looking to grow your presence online, you need to have this reciprocity. Go online for 15 minutes a day, go into your groups, go onto other people's pages and comment, you know, give to people. So for example, if I have a client who sells glasses. She's an optician. And when she was starting out, one of the sort of techniques we used was she very closely followed all her suppliers. And when they put up a post about a new selection of frames, for example, or a new whatever glasses case, she would dive straight in there and go, wow, my clients in Murray, my customers in Murray are going to love this. So anybody that is following Maui Jim or Radley or these big brands who happen to be in the local area, if they see Amanda's comment there, they're like, oh, hang on, I can buy these in Lossiemouth. Wow. So instantly she's tapping in, she's tapping into their audience, not in a spammy way, but again, in a kind of like, in a supportive way. So there's ways of doing that. Paid ads, without a doubt, if you are wanting to reach more people, then if you're starting from a standing start, then you may want to consider paid ads. There's two ways of doing that. You can do Facebook ads, which is the correct way to do it if you have a large or you have a decent sized budget. If you're only looking at sort of like 10, 15, 20 pounds, then you can boost your posts, which is, if you ask digital marketing experts, should I boost my posts? They'd probably say no, but I would say, yeah, if you've got a few quid, why not? See what happens. Again, learn from it and see how you get on.
Can I just jump in there, Alison? Just going back on that slide regarding engagement and the 15 minutes, just to give you an example as well, it's something that we actively do because there's a lot of key people out there that, for example, I would like to get my products in front of, and I know if I message them, they'll not reply, which I've tried, but actually I've targeted a number of those and I'm now constantly commenting on their posts. So although they may have a team of people, because these are really big companies or individuals that are seen to be very personal, but my name is constantly coming up because, and I make it relevant. I don't just go, that's nice. I do an intelligent post so it stands out from all the drivel, because there's also lots of people that comment and just want to be seen and don't really say very much. But if you add value, they often respond to those comments, and therefore your name becomes further up the list and you're there in their presence. So it's also a very good strategy if you're trying to get in front of somebody, to just make that commitment of doing those posts. Now, I say that and I don't always do it, but it's one of those things I've realized it does work if you put the time into it. So I just wanted to add that into this mix because I found that a really useful free tool to get in front of somebody, to get engagement.
Absolutely. Thanks, Joan. Moving on to conversion, how are we going to get people into to buy from us, to visit us, to sign up for whatever we're asking? On Facebook, it is a harder struggle, but it comes down again to good content. Make it interesting and people will follow you. And ask them, tell them what you want them to do. So call, pop in, book now, sign up for something. And then the other thing as well is reviews. So Facebook, again, is the only platform that offers reviews, apart from obviously Google. But ask people to leave reviews. So if you've got raving fans and raving, advocates, then say to them, you can help other people be as happy as you are if you leave me a review and support my business. So don't be afraid to ask. And then engagement, as keep people interested. It comes down to good content again. And Facebook started doing stories. I'm not going to talk about stories here because I don't think it's really taken off that much on Facebook. But I will come back to Jane's point towards the end because I've got some specific information on that I could pull in. Any quick questions on Instagram, Facebook before I move on to Instagram?
Sorry, there was just one in here from Jane, but we can look at this maybe towards the end. I'd like to show some of my work photos, videos, but it's just me sitting at my laptop. So maybe Jane, at the end, we can come back to that.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go on to Instagram because this is pretty much the #1 platform for most people at the moment. Instagram is all about, their tagline is capture and share the world's moments. Now, that's interesting because when they first started out, it was a fun and quirky way to share your life with friends. So it just shows you how the platform's developed. capturing the world's moments. So it is the fastest growing platform across all of the demographics. TikTok is probably rivaling on a younger demographic. Well, it's certainly the fastest on the younger demographic, but across all demographics. So 3 years ago, I wouldn't have suggested that many of my clients spend a lot of time on Instagram, because certainly the older generation weren't so present on it. But that it definitely has become far more general in the population. Again, it's part of the Meta Facebook suite. It's highly visual. So if you offer a service, it's not as easy to do. But you can get around that by creating tiles and things. The great thing about Instagram is it's quite a nice place to hang out. Generally, it's a much more positive user experience than Facebook, for example. People don't tend to get into arguments. And I'll tell you a really good example of this is if you go to Marks and Spencer's and you follow their Facebook content, and look at the content, the comments that content gets on Facebook, and then look at exactly the same comments, the same piece of content on Instagram, and it's just overwhelmingly supportive. So it's a nice place to hang out. It's great for engagement. So Joan talked about messaging and things. The direct messaging on Instagram is fab, particularly in stories. And if you look at, there's a shop locally called Pencil Me In, which I know some of the ladies on here will be well familiar with, in Elgin. So Pencil Me In shop on Instagram, her business has thrived because of the way she does stories. When people put up stories, you can direct message that person and it really gets that conversation going. The other thing that Instagram is awesome for is the e-commerce integration. So they have, or integration, in fact. So they have shops. And if you see, again, if you go to Joan's feed, I believe you've probably got the shopping enabled on yours. If you see a little shopping basket in the corner, you can click onto that and it will take you through to their website and you can browse. And it's a really easy and nice shopping experience if you're selling products. And again, it's got paid ads in a shared platform with Facebook. So if you're putting up Facebook ads, you can also put up Instagram ads at the same time. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to whiz a little bit, but Instagram strategies for reach. So a couple of key things about Instagram. Actually, when you look into it, each of the features falls into this reach, convert and engage really nicely. So hashtags, again, I could run a whole session on hashtags, but hashtags will get you reaching new people. That's what you really need to remember. You can have up to 30 hashtags. And the way that I do it for clients is, this is the Visit Lossiemouth one. We have a modular list, which I keep on my phone. It's a shared Google Doc, so anybody can access it that's working on the account. And when I put up a post about the lighthouse, for example, I'll always pick up my location hashtags, and then I will select the hashtags for lighthouse, and I'm just cutting and pasting. So I've done the research to understand which are the big hashtags, which are the smaller hashtags, which are, specific for beaches or bridges or lighthouses or wildlife or food, whatever it is. I'm then just cutting and pasting those hashtags. And that's a really nice way to just bam, 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 get your hashtags up, because people can follow hashtags and it will get you in front of a new audience. Reels are videos. That's all they are, no more, no less. They are videos. They're quite creative videos, but if all you've got is a photo of your product, you can turn that into a reel by saying post a reel, put up the photo and put some music over it. That turns it into a reel. And the reason that we want everything to be as reels is that Instagram is still really pushing them. So you will do better if you are posting reels just rather than a single visual or a piece of single, or carousels are okay, but reels is where it's at, certainly for Instagram at the moment. And again, paid ads is going to get you in front of people. So once we're in front of somebody, how are we going to convert them? So they found us through the feed or through a hashtag. Now we need to convince them to come and talk to us. And I think this is really, really key. And this is something that I emphasize with all of my workshops, is that your bio has the keywords in it. It should have your location. It should say who you help and how, and it should have a link either to your website or to a link tree or something. So when I come to, I've clicked on your post, I'm kind of curious about what Avarice is all about. And it's saying up there, up front, there's my, my signboard, if you like, outside the front of my shop, telling me exactly who these people are. Shopping and retail, she's in the right category. Below that, these little circles that you're seeing, these are the highlights. So when you put up stories, you can save those to a highlight, and those essentially are your brochure. So on the Visit Lossiemouth site, for example, our highlights we have one about planes, we have one about views, we have one about things to do, places to stay, food and drink. Those kind of categories, you pull together your stories, and that's your brochure. And then your grid is the three columns, columns of images, and that's your shop window. So people are going to go on there, they're going to check you out, they're going to look at your brochure, and they're going to scroll down your shop window. And that shop window, your grid, needs to be on brand. It needs to look pucker for you to do well on Instagram. If your stories are a little bit ropey, if they're a little bit, amateur, people will be forgiving, but it's the grid is your shop window, and it needs to be smart. So again, if you want a great example, go and check out Avarice and see what Joan's got on hers, because her grid is really quite beautiful. And how are you going to engage? Again, so connecting with your community through stories, and I will come back to you, Jane, but I'm gonna, once I start talking about that, I'm gonna get deep down and dirty, so we'll do that at the end if there's time. Connect with your community through stories, and the reason again that stories are so important is because when you go onto your home feed, the first thing you see, the real estate at the top, is filled up with people's stories. So you are directly in front of people, but the thing to remember with stories is you're not going to reach a new audience through your stories. You're only going to connect with people who are already following you. Leaving comments, direct messaging people, and again, as with the other one, spend time actively engaging with other people, commenting on their stories, liking, leaving, and messaging and that kind of thing. Moving on to Pinterest. Pinterest gives people their next great idea. Now, I think that Pinterest is vastly underrated as a social media platform. Firstly, because it's not actually a social media platform. It's a search engine. So the thing about Pinterest is that people are looking for things. They are actively working towards something, or they're looking for inspiration. It's about discovering new things. So it's not so much about community and engagement as a social media platform. It's more like a visual Google. So once you get your head around that, things become a lot easier, because the other great thing about Pinterest is that your pins are evergreen. So it used to have a forever and always tagline as well. So something that I put up 10 years ago is still going to be there. You can link through to your website. So again, if you were to check out Joan's site or one of the other, you just go onto Pinterest and find one of the accounts, they'll link through to their website. It's just another great way of driving traffic to your website. And if you do nothing else, just put up a dozen different pins of your favorite articles or blog posts or products or services or whatever, and link them through to your website. Click through to your website. And because it clicks through to your website, you can get found on Google. Your search engine optimization is improved if you've got more pins on Pinterest. Having said that, some sectors do better than others. So services don't do so well, but things like the wedding sector, the home and lifestyle, that kind of thing, there are certain services. Food as well is also very good on Pinterest. Home improvements. Strategies to reach new people. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to speed up a little bit, but I'm nearly not far off now. So if you want to get into the home or explore feed, your pins need to be Good. So the only thing you can see when you go to a pin, or if you search for something, as you can see on the right here, is just the title. So as before, your title needs to say very clearly what it is that that pin is all about. Use your keywords in your title, use your keywords in your description. And you can use hashtags, you can use up to 20, but it's kind of controversial about whether that's a good idea or not. So if you feel that it works for you, then use them. If you're not getting traffic because of hashtags, you can find that through your analytics, then don't worry so much. The other thing that's a bit annoying about, I'll talk about it here. The conversion, you need to get people to buy and to visit. The same thing, it's your bio. You need a nice clear board structure, and it should represent your brand aesthetic. So it should look and feel like your brand. So again, I'm throwing Joan up here. We're very lucky to have such a paragon of social media in our midst here. Another good one is Brickladdich. So if you go to their post, they have not just 15 different types of whiskey, but they also have is it Isla? I think they are. They have like a location, you know, around and about the distillery, and then they also have influences. They have a seasonal board. They have, so you get a feel for this brand, and it is really reinforcing what that whole brand is about, not just flogging whiskey. The pins link through to the website, so do make sure you add a link on each of your pins. You have the option to do rich pins. That's kind of like the advanced thing you can get through your business profile, and that is enhanced SEO, and that will, there are certain things you can do with that for an app, product, a recipe, or an article that will draw the metadata from your website. So if you want to get deeper into Pinterest, then that would be the way to do that. And again, engagement. It is a community, but it's not as personal as the other sites, I would say. Certainly you can pin others and you can follow other boards and accounts. You can leave comments. It's not a lot of comments go on Pinterest, but I think it's more about sort of following other boards and accounts and just having that presence. I've got a couple of slides on influencers and then I'm done. Is there any questions on social media before I move on?
No, I think everyone's happy to carry on, hopefully. I know we said we'd finish at 2:30, but it would be great to cover this as well. And then we'll have some questions afterwards.
Okay. So influencers, just briefly. So the key, I suppose, critical part of marketing that I haven't talked about as part of the digital marketing is the influence of influencers. Now, whether we like it or not, these people are here to stay, and they can actually be incredibly useful for you when it comes to growing your brand. They're really good for exposure, brand awareness, reaching a new market if you choose the right ones. So who are you going to use? It could be somebody that you already know or follow. There could be somebody you've been aware of for a while. Or it could be somebody that you are not personally connected with yet, but who your audience admires and who your audience follows. So you can find out very easily on Instagram, for example, by going to somebody else's account, and you can actually see who's following them and who they are following just by clicking at the numbers at the top. If you find that some of your raving fans are actually following the same influencer, the same person, then that person is obviously influential in your sphere and you may want to approach them. If you want to go bigger, then there's Influencer Marketing Hub is a large sort of agency where you can find out, you know, professional influencers. It's really important that they are the right fit for you. So they need to be on brand for you, but also you need to be on brand for them. So it's going to fall flat on its face if you are a natural kind of like spiritual kind of thing and you get some kind of crazy young BMX dude or something just because he's famous. So make sure they are the right fit for you. And you can check by asking to see their media pack, which should include their prices and a breakdown of their demographics. So they will be aware who their audience is, how old they are, where they live, that kind of thing. And that you can see if that's the kind of audience you want for your products. And when you approach them or start to have that conversation, make sure you create a briefing document so you set very clear expectations of what you're looking to achieve. When you actually do engage them, you're going to use that briefing document to agree terms. So whether that is paying them, or whether it's just giving them product or exposure of some kind, it is very important that you are both extremely clear on what those expectations are and what they are going to deliver for that. So you can't just, I mean, you can obviously just send people product and say, here, I hope you like this. But if you are engaging them, and I have to say, I've worked on a couple of campaigns where we have used influencers, and it was a huge return, just fabulous. So particularly when I was starting a new account, to bring somebody in, we set them very clear expectations for how many posts and stories and things they would do over the course of the 2-day stay. And they did a fabulous job, and it was well worth it in terms of investing in them. You may want to ask them for some piece of evergreen content like a blog post, because then it's not just about them, that, you know, while they happen to, you're that flash in the pan moment of being on their grid, being on their stories. If they are a blog poster as well, then it's worth asking them to do a blog post for you, so that you've always got that presence and that connection with them. If they're doing posts, then they do need to be fully disclosing their ads, that it is a paid partnership that they're working on. Give them branded hashtags to use and make it as easy as possible for them, so that they are so that they just have a nice, enjoyable experience, and I'm more likely to give you a raving review. And make sure you follow up by asking for campaign statistics and things, and thank and promote them in return. So feels like a whistle stop at the end. So what did we cover? Principles of content marketing: planning, preparing, posting, engaging, and learning. Make sure you give value. Think about this: reach, convert, and engage. Strategies for success on any platform will always be optimizing your bio. If anybody would like me to cast an eye over their bio, by all means, you're welcome to contact me after this, and I'll be happy to help. Think about your keywords as well, and consider working with influencers if that's going to be right for your market. So there's my contact details there if anybody would like to get in touch. I am going to be running a couple of workshops over the next few weeks about Canva as the next one. I just need to get a date in the diary, but if you follow me on Instagram, it will be, and Facebook, it will be put up on there. So I'm going to just stop sharing my screen at that moment and go and find my thing about to answer Jane's question. But while I'm doing that, is there anything else that anybody would like to ask about?
First of all, I'd like to say, look, thanks so much, really great. And actually, we've whizzed through an awful lot here. I would also like to hear from the attendees of any of these subjects that you might want further work on, because that's what Expo North Digital is now looking at, is how can we engage with, create a community locally and support them in more digital aspects. So, you know, picked up there on hashtags and influencers, just to drop in as well on influencers. It's something that it's really worth looking into, but also be aware of the downside. I've been there, I've tried it, where I've, you know, gone given product to people and actually very little back as well. So it's really understanding who the influencer is, who the market is, in terms of what are they able to offer you, and agreeing what they're going to do for you. But do it carefully as well, because obviously there's a lot of them that want, you know, people get approached or offer saying, look, I'm an influencer, and then you look at their following and you think, actually, their followers aren't really my customers, or it's semi-fake because there's lots of followers, but there's not much content being commented on in the settings. So it's just something to be aware of with influencers when you go out, try and do your research around it. That's
a really good point. Thank you, Jane. I found the, I'm going to share my screen again and I can answer Jane's question. Now, Jane, if you have a look, this is my Instagram. So you're clearly not following me close enough on Instagram, Jane, because it's been a while actually, but there's one there about sorting out your bio, but down here, creating content, is it a post or is it a story? So a couple of questions. The difference between stories, so a story only lasts for 24 hours. And then it's gone. You can save it as a highlight. As I say, if you go to Ava Innes and have a look at their Instagram page, you'll see what I mean by that. But if you can save those stories. Stories are therefore time critical, whereas a post is always there, it's evergreen. So there's a kind of this post here, it's probably easy if I just click through it. So is it a post or is it a story? You've got a piece of content and you're not sure what it is. Firstly, is it time critical? Things like today's menu, or we've got a sale on, or we're hiring, those kind of things. If it's time critical, then have it as a story. Okay, because if you put up on your grid, we've got a sale on, and then a little bit later you put up another post, we've got a sale on. And we had a high-end boutique here in Lossiemouth, and I took them to task because I looked at their grid and it was full of these posts saying 40% off, 20% off, you know, sale starts tomorrow. And I said, you're totally devaluing your brand, because all I'm seeing is sale posts. So if it's time critical, put it as a story, or take it off your grid. So if it's not time critical, what do you say? Is it high quality content? If it's not particularly high quality content, again, it would be better as a story. People are far more forgiving about you know, shaky camera work and a bit blurry and you fumbling and stuff over your words if it's a story. If it is high quality content and you'd be proud to look back on that content, then it can be a post. The third question you need to ask is, do you own this content? If you don't own the content because you found it on somebody else's post and you're sharing it, or because it's a photo of, I don't know, you're using somebody else's photo, then it needs to be a story, and it needs to be quite clear that it's a story, because you can't put anything on your own grid that you don't have permission to use. And then the final one, and a critical one as well, is what do you want to achieve with this? Because remember, with stories, you're not reaching a new audience, you're only engaging with your current community. So if you want to engage, then by all means make it a story. If you want to reach new people, it's going to need to be a post. So if you've got, to sum up, evergreen, good quality content that you created or that you have permission to use, then it's a post and it can go on your grid. Once it's on your grid, then you share it as a story as well. And the way you can do that is, I might have to jump into the power of technology, but if you go to Instagram, underneath every post, there is a little arrow, like a messaging arrow. If you click on that, you have the ability to share to a story. And what that does is it alerts your community that you've put up a new post. So I would always recommend whenever you put up a post, then share it to stories as well.
Alison, just let me ask then, because I don't really use Instagram, but that you can have stories in Facebook, is that right? Or does when you see a story in Facebook, is it actually Instagram?
You can have stories on Facebook, yes, but most of them I would suppose are probably generated from within Instagram, because Instagram is better. The tools that you have in Instagram are better for creating stories than Facebook's. Facebook is still really quite clunky. So more and more people on Facebook are using stories, but it is still primarily an Instagram platform.
Okay, thank you.
So, but give it a go and see how you get on and see what you think.
Yeah.
And if you want to have a better look at that post, that was on my Instagram profile, which is Alison J. Read.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Anybody got any other questions? Jane Findlay. Do you want to come off mute, Jane?
That's it, I think. Yeah, so I'm trying to promote my virtual assistant business, but as I say, it's just me sitting at my laptop. So obviously I can't show any work that I do for any clients because that's confidential. Any quick tips on what kind of content I could share?
Yes,
it would be personal to me.
You've got the same problem that I do, is that providing a personal service is really difficult to promote visually. So again, if we have a look at my Instagram, this, so there's stuff that I do, which is, so that's the workshop it's in. This was something that I did for a client. So this is me showing an image, and it happens to be in my brand colors. The other thing I do is provide these tiles. Do you see that? So these are created in Canva. So yours might be, you know, 5 ways to increase your productivity or something like that. And number 5 would be hire a VA, for example. And then this is just, you know, this was a day in the life, and I was at a school. This one here is a workshop that I was doing. It's not easy as a services business, you know, the view out of your window, that kind of thing. But what I would suggest is, if you are the kind of business that you're doing, probably LinkedIn is going to be a better platform for you anyway. So if you go to LinkedIn and see the kind of stuff that works on there, there's some of the, just trying to think, there's quite a lot of VAs on LinkedIn. So again, you can look at who's doing things really well and learn from them. But positioning yourself as an expert in things like productivity and efficiency and those kind of skills that you bring, if the content that you're generating is reinforcing those skill sets, it's going to be more persuasive. So, but I agree, getting photos is not easy, but creating tiles like this could be the answer. Okay, this one here, like, got questions. What is the frequently asked questions in your business? What does a client need to know about before they start working with you? If you can answer those, you've broken down one barrier to working with you. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Alison. Yeah, that really helps. Thank you. I'm on LinkedIn, so yeah, I really need to start looking at my competitors. I'm a bit scared too, but yeah, I need to look and see what they're doing and just get some ideas. So yeah. Don't
be scared, because everybody's at different points in their businesses. So there will be people who've been doing this for like 20 years, for a couple of years, whatever, and they are posting daily. Don't let them scare you off, because there are other people out there. There are many people out there who are doing nothing. So just be on there and be confident.
I would just like to add on that for everybody, really, it does become about you as a person. As Alison said, people buy from people. So in terms of sharing posts, you may want to just share stuff about you in places that you visit, or, you know, make it visually exciting, or especially living up here, it's very easy to find nice places to be, and talk a bit, if you're comfortable with it, about you in a personal way. This is what we did at the weekend, and it helps clear the mind, set the weekend. Like, you know, for example, Friday post, looking forward to the weekend, send a really nice, beautiful shot out there of what you plan to do. Or Monday morning, a motivational Monday image. You know, things like that are relevant for everybody. It's about engagement. It's about you as a person, whatever your product area or service is. It's about keeping that connection to people that are things that they might want to see. But, you know, it can be around a motivation, or, you know, happy weekend, things like that.
Yeah, good. Absolutely. And that goes back to your brand as well. Sorry, Joan. Yeah. I was just going to say that goes back to your brand as well. So if your brand, like Joan's, is quite natural and calming and relaxing, then that's something you can get across in your visuals. But if it's like efficient and crisp and productive, then perhaps you want to be thinking about other kind of visuals, like, you know, I don't know, the clock or something like that. So there's a question from Miriam there that popped up about, if you've got enough work, do you still need to market your business? I'm not actually marketing my business at the moment, because I don't have the time. I've got far too much work, and I've just taken a new job on. But the proper answer is yes, because you should keep an active presence, even though you don't need to grow your business. you do need to reassure people that you actually are still in business, that you are still available for work, because although you're doing fine at the moment, you never know how your situation will change. Yeah, exactly, keep it up to date. So at the very, even if it's just once a week, once a month on LinkedIn, or just put up something just to let people know that you're still going.
Great. Yes, Frida.
Hi. I don't know how to formulate this question really, but is there a sort of a hierarchy of connection between, say, what would be your personal Facebook page, and then your business page, and then your business Instagram and your personal Instagram? And, you know, when you're linking those, because it says, do you want to link back to your account? And I'm not 100% about whether that, to say yes, because it might link to the wrong thing, and I found that I was trying to use the business suite for Facebook, and it was just really, really difficult to get ads going. They wouldn't go, and I just thought, you know, hands up in horror and walked away, sort of thing. Because, you know, I suppose also I was trying to sort it out at a kind of time of pressure.
Yeah.
When you're wanting to do things now, and of course the thing is not to be doing it then, is to do it earlier. But I'm a bit confused about how those things interrelate.
You're confused because it is utterly confusing. That's the answer to that. I wish there was a straight answer. So the problem is that Instagram and Facebook work very differently. So on Facebook, your personal profile is the key to everything. So every business has to be owned by a person with a personal profile. So if you never ever intend to use Facebook, you won't be able to get a business page on Facebook. So that's the first thing to understand. So Instagram is different. Instagram is a series of accounts that are not necessarily owned by people. They are either personal or business pages. So I, for example, have my personal Facebook profile. I then have a dozen different pages that I'm an admin on, but they all recognize that I'm a person behind that. On Instagram, I have a dozen different accounts, some of which are personal, some of which are business. The linking of the two together is where it is a real minefield. And the easiest thing is just to sit down and go through it. It's sometimes it's easier to do on your phone, but so in my case, for example, on my Instagram, I have Ali Wild Swims, which is a personal account, and that's about me swimming. And then I have Alison J. Read, which is my business account. So I make sure that my Ali Wild Swims connects through to my personal Facebook profile. So anything I post on my swimming account, I can confidently post it to my personal, and my friends and family will see it on Facebook. My Alison J. Read connects through to my Alison Read digital content. And then, so for my clients, I can connect those to their Facebook pages. But it's really, even if you were sat in front of me, it would be a right fankle to undo. It's so user unfriendly. I can't. I'm as frustrated as you are, I'm afraid, Frida. But I think if you get your head around that, mm-hmm. you can't break it. Okay, mm-hmm. You can't do anything wrong. So do what you think is working. And if it's not working, if it's not clear on the phone, then go into Business Suite and have a look in there. But I feel your pain.
Okay, I think that's probably us for today. We've overrun a little bit, but hopefully you've all found that really useful. Thank you so much, Alison, for your time and lots of information to share. We at Expo North will also look at some of the commentary that's come up in some of the other areas and see what else we can do to support this digital area online. Certainly there's a number of things I've made notes of. So keep in touch with us, sign up to the newsletter at Expo North, and you'll find out what digital content's been delivered, and also on the website there's lots planned. Every month we've got lots going on across the sector. So thanks again to everybody, and thank you to Alison especially for delivering this today.
Thank you very much.
I hope you all enjoyed today's session and you found it a valuable use of your time. I popped a link in the chat box that would be super helpful if you have the time to complete for us. It's just a little bit of feedback so we can continue to improve our service. If you don't have time for that just now, please don't worry, because I will be sending up a follow-up email to everyone for feedback. So please don't worry about the link if you haven't got the time just now. Then again, roughly in about 6 months' time from now, I'll pop up in your email box, and it's just to see, from watching these wonderful sessions that Alison has put together, have things improved for you, and how you found how you found today, but in 6 months' time. Don't forget, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and our website, www.exponorth.co.uk, where, as Joan says, you can sign up to our newsletter, keep up to date with absolutely everything we're doing. The website is also where you can complete one of our inquiry forms if you'd like advice and assistance from any of our Expo North digital specialists. So please keep that in mind. And again, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you to Alison, and thank you to Joan, and I hope to see you all in the future. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Gemma.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.